Terima kasih Tuan Pengerusi. Selamat pagi. Salam sejahtera. Yang saya kasihi Tun Mahathir, Yang Bahagia Menteri Dato' Wahid Umar, Div dan saudara-saudara dan saudari-saudari yang saya sangat hormati. Tajuk saya ialah investment dan ISDS pelaburan. So, izinkan saya untuk sampaikan ucapan saya dalam bahasa Inggeris juga sebab ada beberapa perkara yang rumit yang saya ingin untuk menegaskan dengan lebih jelas. This TPP kita taksir dari sudut Malaysia, kepentingan Malaysia. We are entering the 21st century. What is the 21st century? We are going to become, we hope to become a developed nation status as visioned by Dr. Mahathir some time ago in 2020, which is 5 years' time. Now the whole point about being a nation that is entering the 21st century is to ensure that we are truly sovereign. We have policy space to decide matters that affect our rakyat, policy space to take economic measures that suit us, draw the rules in relation to those policy measures so that we can then advance into the next century. Now that is the objective. Now the problem with TPP is that it imposes very restrictive rules that have been determined primarily by one superpower, the United States of America. And we have to follow in line and try to carve out certain areas of interest to us. We have to plead, we have to negotiate to say, okay, Bumiputra policy, no, you cannot do this to our Bumiputra policy because it has certain advantages to balance the socio-economic interests of the country and so on. And we have to beg, we have to plead. Now this is the position of the TPP. And it is done in secret. The reason that Obama gave, and the reason that has been adopted by our Yang Bahagia Menteri, Mustafa, is that, oh, you cannot negotiate because otherwise there will be a lot of kecoh, a lot of issues will come up, and then you cannot have a treaty. That is why you have to keep it secret. Not only during the negotiation masa rundingan, tetapi 5 tahun selepas janji ini ditandatangani. Now this is not true. I have just come from concluding the Paris Agreement on Climate Change. I represented Malaysia. I represented like-minded developing countries group, which comprises China, India, Malaysia, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and another 25 countries. We, 195 countries negotiate in the open, transparent, NGOs pun ada. And as we are progressing in our negotiation, which took 1 year, we disclose to our ministries, disclose to our agencies, disclose to our NGOs, disclose to the world NGOs. So why this lie by Obama, which is being mouthed by our government, that we have to keep it secret? Of course, in the RTM1 interview that Dr. Mustafa gave, he said, actually, we are quite open. We are open how? Because we discuss with certain stakeholders. We discuss with the cabinet. Cabinet fixes the policy. But cabinet can be right. Cabinet can be wrong. Cabinet is short-lived. All right, we know Tun Mahathir served for a rather long time because of certain exceptional circumstances and quality. But we do not know how long our ministers will be. So this impact of this TPP can affect for generations to come. So you have to take this into account. 7,000 pages, you're doing a roadshow. Even in the university, when I sat down with other lecturers from other faculties, I'm from law, but these ada kait-ngait dengan beberapa disiplin yang interface. Okay, so we discuss it, we need time to understand because there are a lot of interlinkages, 7,000 pages. And now the government is saying that we can go on a roadshow and explain this to the people and the people accept. Why? Why do you do that? This is going to affect beyond us, beyond your time as a minister, your time as a prime minister. So this is a very major concern. So when we say bantah TPP, we don't say bantah TPP, we are saying actually we bantah the whole process by which TPP is being foisted on the people of Malaysia. That is the point. Because we are not able to assess carefully, even the ministries are not able to assess carefully the impact that it will have. So that is the point. Now I want to ask, and perhaps since we have been graced by a minister, a sitting minister, perhaps this can be articulated to the cabinet. We take the case of the bauxite mine. Okay, bauxite mine, 2 hari lepas ini, Menteri Dato' Seri Wan Junaidi dalam Kementerian Sumber Asal dan Alam Sekitar, he announced that we are suspending the operation of the bauxite mine. Why? Because menjejaskan kesihatan orang ramai di sana dan juga alam sekitar. Okay, suspend. Now, bayangkan, sekiranya that bauxite mine which is being stopped is a foreign corporation. Dan bayangkan that this is after the TPPA is signed. What will the position be? That is the problem. This pelaburan, and look at Linus for example, if we want to do some sekatkan syarat-syarat tentang yang dikenakan kepada Linus yang buat sisa radioaktif, yang keluarkan sisa radioaktif, right? What will happen? Will our government be in a position to tell them, look, our people's lives are affected, our people's health is affected, we want to stop you? That is the question. If you can answer this question and say, I guarantee you that yes, we can do that, then some of us will be happy to withdraw our opposition. But you know what will happen? You know what will happen? And you have to give us the answer because it's affecting people. You know what will happen? That now, under the TPPA, bukan saja kalau kita ambil alih dia punya syarikat atau aset, but we cannot change the conditions under which that investment, that pelaburan ditanamkan di negara ini. So if during that time, when they came in, like Linus for example, we have a certain law that allows them to do a variety of things, we cannot change that. We cannot change that because if we change that, they will complain that their expected profits have been affected. Because their expected profits have been affected, you have therefore expropriated their investment. Ini dia lanjutkan definisi expropriation. If you disturb their investment by creating different conditions, different economic conditions, if you require, for example, that there must be a minimum wage, then their cost of production gone up, their projections for their profits have gone down, their product may not be saleable or as competitive, you have affected their pelaburan, you have affected their investment, and therefore, what will they do? They can bring a case. Where will they bring the case? To our courts? No. To a special panel of private lawyers. And this is what has been called a group of lawyers who are primarily from northern corporations, from the north, countries of the north, a small knit group of people. And they can decide your case. Okay, it's arbitration. So there'll be one lawyer nominated by Malaysian government on the Linus case, for example, if they want to stop it. One by the company. The foreign corporation can sue our government. Our government cannot sue that foreign corporation. That's the TPPA. So they can sue you, and then they appoint one referee, one chairman. So 3. But there have been many 2-1 decisions. Don't forget that. And this is being decided outside of our court structure. Our law says, our perlembagaan says, that all disputes, there are three arms of governance in this country. One is the executive, the government. Then you have the legislative that makes the laws. And then thirdly, you have the judiciary, which decides cases. But here they lompat, they can go straight to this panel. This panel is not representative. You cannot appeal against that decision. This panel consists of private lawyers. There is no precedent. That means there's no binding rule that today, whatever they say must be followed in the next case. None of that. We don't have that. So what will then happen is what has happened in many other countries. Even Germany, for example. Germany, after Fukushima, wanted to close down the nuclear power plant. Why? Because their people said, look, it's very dangerous. Look at Fukushima, what is happening. Because there was a blow-up. The people have had to move out from there, a lot of leukemia cases and so on and so forth. So Angela Merkel, the president of Germany, decided, okay, we will get rid of this, we'll phase out nuclear plants. This Swedish company now have taken them under a similar kind of an arrangement, under a ISDS type of arrangement, and sued them and said, you affect our investment. This Swedish company had 2 power plants which were not even operating. But they said, no, it's not operating, but we could have operated it in the future, and therefore we have lost profits, and you have to pay us for that lost profits. And for the entire duration, we were going to be here for 40 years. So profit for 40 years you have to pay. So this panel, if bauxite mining is by a foreign corporation, and Linus, for example, is a foreign corporation, it's Australian corporation, they will sue us. They'll sue our government under the TPP. And you have no protection. The government has no protection because governments have been sued. Ecuador government, they closed down Occidental Oil, a big oil company. Why? Because it was because of reasons of pollution. All right? It was awarded $2 billion US. Until now, they've only paid $1 billion. There are so many examples that have come into being. Now, there are safeguards. So, Dr. Mustafa will say, we have safeguards. What is a safeguard? The safeguard says a country can carry out environmental and so on measures. We can do that. There are safeguards. But there is a clause there which says, subject to the provisions of this investment chapter. And the provisions of this investment chapter has what you call fair and equitable treatment when you deal with foreign investors. And fair and equitable treatment, adil dan saksama, treatment yang adil dan saksama, that treatment must be based on reasonable expectation of the investor. How has the tribunal decided these kind of cases? They said reasonable expectation means you cannot disturb the basis upon which the person entered the investment, made the investment. So
Prof.
you cannot do anything to alter the investment climate, right? So companies have sued governments, which means you cannot change the law, which means the legislature, parliament, cannot change the law. You try to change the law, they bring this case against you in a panel, arbitration panel. So legislature is out. They don't have to go through your courts. So the court system is out. They don't have to follow your law. In that place there is their own law. It is case by case based on their understanding of the law. These 3 people who are going to decide, and they will ubah from time to time. They change. Sometimes they act for government, sometimes they act for private investors. So, our law also, we cannot use. Now, this is the impact of the investment sector. And what we ask the government, what people who shouted banta TPP is, why do you commit our government, our people, our future, our legislature, our courts, our judiciary to this kind of restricting rules? This is no longer That is why when we say sovereignty is affected, we see the posters, it is affected in a very serious way. Our constitution is undermined. And I want to end on a final note. Why TPPA? I just read a report from the Council of Foreign Relations. It's a very powerful body in America, consisting of people like Paul Wolfowitz, who's responsible for taking the US and other countries to war in Iraq on false grounds. Don't forget that. All right? And so many others, Council of Foreign Relations, March 2015 report. They say that China is the only country in the world who can knock the United States off from its primacy role. And we cannot integrate. They don't like Obama's policy of trying to integrate them into the economic setup. This, the report says that. What we have to do is we have to meet them head on. And one of the bases upon which we have to meet them head on is we must, at that time the TPPA was not concluded, we must make sure the TPPA is concluded to meet head on the challenge that China poses. And also to wean away the countries that may come under the influence because of trade and other factors of China. We must wean them away through the TPPA. Now this is what we are buying into, the geopolitics of the United States of America. The question I ask is, why should we do that if we are an independent, truly independent and sovereign nation? I thank you very much.